En dan zijn we live als het goed is. Business AI. There is not a day that we do not discuss AI or business AI in our lives, in our working lives. Last week, SAP, we announced the SAP Business Data Cloud. That also comes with a lot of AI agents. Small agents agents that can handle specific small or bigger tasks, like in logistics, like in finance, like in HR. You can see them as your digital assistants. That's really interesting. So how will this work in practice? Who's waiting for those agents? What use cases can we define? That's interesting. Interesting question. I'm really happy today that I'm joined by Maarten Stam from Capgemini, and Maarten is the B2B Innovation Lead at Capgemini in the Netherlands, and Max Willekens, and he is the Technical Solution Architect at Capgemini, and Jan, Stamgast. Yeah, exactly. To discuss business AI, use cases, and everything else that comes to the table. If you have any questions and you're watching this live, please put them in the chat, then we can answer your questions with the four of us. And otherwise, I would just say, welcome to HANA Café, the Netherlands.
HANA Café Nederland is een podcast met nieuws vanuit de SAP-wereld. In het café spreken de gasten en stamgasten over ontwikkelingen, innovaties, events of praten ze gewoon weer eventjes bij. Laten we snel naar binnen gaan.
Welcome guys, welcome to HANA Café, the Netherlands.
Thank you, Twan and Jan. Good to be back.
Yeah, and Jan, usually we give a big hand to our guests, and we will do that later. I'm really sure about that. But I think this is the 4th episode in our 10th season. We are in the 10th season.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
this is a decade of HANA Cafés.
We have created a lot of content together, and I'm really happy that we didn't mention that in the previous episodes earlier this year. But it's a 10th year that we're covering SAP technology like development, integration, and AI.
I didn't even realize it. Only feels like we started last year.
And so now I have a very difficult question for you. Let's see if I can. The difficult question I have for you. So you have your own difficult question. But now, what was the first statement in our first episode in 2014?
You mean the first 5 years of HANA Café, right?
No.
The first opening sentence of all the first 5 years of HANA Café was zo. And I'm really curious about the history behind this zo that you always started off with.
Yeah, maybe then in short, and then we go to business AI. But I think the history is that I am also a technology guy. And so when we started the podcast, I thought, we have to need a microphone, and we need technology to record the podcast, and we need some topics and some guests, and everything was together. And then I pressed record, and I forgot to think about, hey, how would you open a podcast? So it was, welcome bij HANA Café.
I can still remember that there was one time in those 5 years that you didn't open with zo. And that meant that we did have video but no audio.
Yeah, that okay. No. Fine that you did. Fine. Thanks. Okay, but let's switch to business AI. The topic of today. Let's switch to Maarten and Max. Business AI. Last week we had even the announcement of Business Data Cloud. I hope that you have seen this production from New York. And it was really well prepared. And I think a lot of has been said. But let's not talk about how we saw that event. But Maarten, what do you think? What is your takeaway from this announcement of last week?
Yeah, what I think is SAP maturing into becoming data-driven, data company, so to say. It was always about ERP, of course, and things like, looking back, business warehouse, analytics was always there. But now it's the full Monty. It's all in on data, and of course with data comes AI. Yeah.
But
so gloves are off.
When data comes, then also AI. So that's really important to have data and AI.
Yeah. So AI. I mean, nowadays everybody wants AI. Since ChatGPT, like 2 years ago, made its debut, and everybody could try things out themselves. Everybody's like, "Oh, we want AI," and then companies said, "Oh, we also want AI," and everybody didn't know exactly what they wanted to do with AI, but they wanted AI.
Yeah.
But they didn't realize, or sometimes realize too late, that you can only have AI when your data is in order, when your data is correct. And that takes work, that takes effort, and it takes let's say the right solutions as well. And I think the last week's announcements will help guide that for their especially their SAP data. Yeah.
All right. Max, what's your takeaway from last week's announcement?
Yeah, I'm an SAP-based guy from origin, and what I really liked is the scalability of this solution. I've been working a lot with customers the past few years, which wanted to connect directly to the backend system, and you always would get into performance issues, those kinds of things. And when I saw this, I thought this is a really solid solution to base your AI on. Our boss is always saying SAP is the heart of your organization, and this way you
It's a nice
can
statement. kudos.
and this way you really enable all that data with context provided in the B2P in DataSphere and allow AI into it. It's in that sense a really safe solution. So I really liked it.
All right. So looking at AI, things go really fast. To be honest, it's really hard for myself to catch up. I'm trying to focus on a few B2P parts, and AI is something. Hey, it's coming quite close, but it's going so fast, and I can imagine. And so, if we talk about AI, like in last week's announcement, but also all our AI officer and all things AI that SAP is doing, but not only SAP is doing. All the parties are doing AI. So we're talking about AI, about the future. That's something somewhere, the North Star in high in the sky. And then even this week, Jan, I think it was yesterday that we had a discussion with a customer, not on AI, but they were on ECC. So that means that it's really miles apart, maybe even light years apart. So your consultants and you're supporting your customers. How does the message land at our customers about AI? How are they hearing this message? Are they preparing? Too many questions. Let's first. How does it land at our customers?
So I think if I may. So the question is, they see the announcements and they're still in ECC, and I think two things happen. The clients say, how do we get there? Right? What do we need to do? And how do we say, and for these things you need to be on S4 and you need to have those things to have those connections. But otherwise you see that if they cannot have it now, they will find a way to have it now.
Yeah.
So if it's not through this Business Data Cloud, there are other ways. They think, okay, well maybe we can try something else to get this. Yeah,
what do you mean then?
So to give an example, we have one client, very big retail client, and they found, and they were still on ECC back then, and they found basically an algorithm, and now we would also just call it AI, but an algorithm that could say, hey, it was their warehouse. It's like, hey, you go to the warehouse, you do order picking, and like those things. I actually worked there myself a long time ago.
Before Capgemini.
When I was
trying to pay for your study. Yeah,
exactly. When I was still studying, but they could do it more efficiently, like the route and everything. But they said, hey, here's an algorithm. And a company said, hey, we have an algorithm for that. But that was it. It's like, hey, we have an algorithm for that. And then Action said, okay, well, how do we use that? We're on ECC, and then we have EWM in that case. How do we connect to that? And then they came to us, to Capgemini, and they were not ready for S4 yet. That was on the books, that was on the plan to do that. Yeah. And that's why I was involved in that. We just tried to make the best connection to get, using a lot of BTP, we use Kima to host the algorithm, we used the integration suite, we use HANA clouds to buffer some data, to get the data from EWM into the algorithm and back. Yeah. So in the case it was AI before this big announcements, but I would say clients have always want to go forward, and if it's not yet the big step towards S/4HANA, to these AI offerings, they will be very creative and look at their own solutions and will try to help them, at least for the time being.
Yeah, you mentioned B2B. So Jan, is that also then if you are still on older technology with your ERP landscape, can we then use B2B to do AI?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think that's the customer case that Maarten has just referred to is basically explaining that they actually made it happen to retrofit this AI scenario or algorithm scenario on top of an ECC system. Yep.
Which is a nice thing. So if you are on ECC, don't worry, you can still do AI, but of course you need to make some connections.
Yeah. And I think the good thing is that it's not like, they will not never move to S/4HANA because they got their innovations working.
But it's a different discussion. So in the old days, I have a few gray hairs. So
R2.
Yes, exactly. That's how I started to learn ABAP. But let's not go into that. But in the old days, it was always, if you wanted to have new innovations for SAP, it was always in the next major release. That was one of the statements that a lot of SAP consultants that have gray hair, and you have also gray hair. But that was the next major release. But now, with the decoupling of a platform like BTP, you do not have to wait for the next major release of S4 before you can use innovative technologies like AI, but then you have this side-by-side scenario using B2P.
Yeah, I think exactly. And there are, of course, still benefits to moving to S4, especially the connectivity part. Yeah. But if you want, and if that's not yet on the roadmap, there's other priorities. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's also that you have that we are infusing AI in our functionality, in our processes, which is in S4, but then you need to go to S4 to make use of that. But if you have your own algorithm, then you can bring it to B2B.
For sure,
Max, any use cases that you came across?
Yeah, it's most coming back to the customers. It's the eagerness that stands out from the other innovations in the last couple of years. I remember indeed machine learning coming into play, which basically also AI, but the customers did a little thing and then the eagerness there was away. But with AI, they are seeing, especially if they have younger kids, they are seeing what's possible with ChatGPT, and now they are pushing forward. Use cases. Last year I was attending an event at SAP for Business AI, and we were giving the chance to really look together with our group for use cases, and we had a few young professionals with us, and they really started thinking out of the box. So they were thinking, okay, our customers have success factors and they want to improve the hiring process. So they came up with a small idea that we would feed the data of the hiring process into AI and giving it back, because normally the HR team or the werving and selectie team spends a lot of time going through all the CVs and those kinds of things. And it was they won our internal Rockstar challenge basically with this idea, because it would allow recruiters to spend a lot of less time just scanning through CVs. So they are currently still working on POCs and going to customers for these kinds of use cases, and it's magnificent. You don't have to do the paperwork anymore. You don't have to sit behind the desk, read all day, but you can just get into the good data by being helped by AI.
Yeah, but I think this is also one of the disruptions. As you brought your young professionals, so the people that just studied and finished their study, and then they joined you as Capgemini in a company, and they came with all these brilliant ideas that you just described, which is also completely different, because let's not go too often to the old days, but in the old days it was, you have to be a very experienced SAP consultant before you can actually think together with your customer about new scenarios. But now the new scenarios come from the young people. They just studied, they learned during their study about AI and stuff, and that's a different. That's really nice to see then old and young people, and that you have this mixed team of people that come up with new solutions for customers.
Yeah.
Great. That's really good.
Yeah. If I may add to that, I think what we see at Capgemini at least now is that everybody is involved. Like you said, you get the young professionals and they just finish their studies. And what I find out, every great AI use case starts with, wouldn't it be great if?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be great if we have a picture and the AI would explain what is on the picture? And with only that prompt, you can think of 1,000 use cases for different clients and different users. For example, what if you're the police and you have a crime scene? It's like, okay, can you explain what is on this picture?
Okay.
Can I miss?
Who did it?
Who did it? Exactly. Well, hey, that's the next idea.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're the store, you got a return and you say, well, I've no idea what this, or like somebody, like you're in DIY, like do-it-yourself store. Somebody comes with a screw or a little bit of fitting somewhere and it's like, hey, this one broke. I want a new one.
Yeah.
And I have no idea if they still sell this. I don't know what the packaging looks like. But what if the AI can just recognize that?
Yeah.
And that's great.
Sounds a bit like, wouldn't it be great if an AI could catch criminals before they commit the act?
Hopefully, yeah.
There's a movie about
Should
that.
make a movie about that. Yeah.
Yeah. How did the movie end?
Yeah. But,
Exactly. Well, that does bring the topic of to a little bit to ethics, because you mentioned just now we're scanning through a lot of resumes in our recruitment department, and then we, based on what the AI says, we might select someone. Now, what I know is that when we first started playing around with AI in the area of field glass for contingent workers, we had something similar that we were trying to do. And we eventually found out that the AI became kind of racist and it was shut down by an ethics committee. So, that's the other thing. That's building something that works with AI is fine, and it's quite, getting easier and easier every day. But what about the other things that are behind that AI and making sure that it also follows certain responsibility? Yeah. Is that something that Capgemini also works on?
Yeah, of course. At a Capgemini level, we have certain guidelines already. Which products can we use? And those guidelines are based on ethics. And of course, if you get into this space, the young professionals were really excited, and I was together with another colleague a little bit more senior. And the first thing we mentioned is, how would you react if it was your own resume in that kind of sense? So ethics, especially in that domain, is really sensitive, and it's basically the start of every discussion. Either if you are going to do it via the AI core of SAP, either if you are going to look outside of SAP for a model to work on. That's often the first question you ask. So how is it arranged? And we are also obliged within Capgemini to ask those questions and to make sure that before we launch something, that these ethics are in place.
Maybe that's where we come in, Twan.
Yeah.
So we have cool kids like Maarten and Max doing the AI and building stuff. Yeah. And then the grumpy old people like ourselves, we come in with, you can't do this and you can't do that.
Okay, you have to do it differently. Yeah, but it's the ethics, but also responsible is of course really important. So if everybody already had the experience, if you ask a question to ChatGPT and then it came up with an answer because it really wanted to answer you, but the answer was wrong, because it made it up.
It's hallucination.
Hallucination. And if you ask Jules, for example, something, or if you ask one of the SAP agents in question and it comes up with hallucination, that's not really reliable. So that's really important to have in business AI, to have these components.
I hallucinated that Twan should be selected for this job.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you always know that I can switch on, right?
You can mute me.
No, but okay.
I think just a thought, but you can see it like any team. Like you have the people that indeed come up with a lot of new ideas that you sometimes need to stop. It's like, okay, let's get concrete. And you have the people with a lot of experience that say, okay, well, that's not how we used to do it. Are you sure? And it's the people in the middle. It's like, okay, there's a lot of great ideas, but how do we actually make it real? How can we actually make it a real thing? So I think what we're talking about nowadays a lot within Capgemini as well, I heard this term a lot, is like not guardian angels, but guardian agents.
Guardian agents, okay.
Cool. That,
agents that check each other.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to kind of, they always talk about grounding for sure, to make sure that the information the AI comes with makes sense. Yeah. But it's also like Jan said, sometimes because of the data that you put in, you get things that are very prejudiced, even racist, and especially if it deals with people, you have to be really careful, and you need to kind of have another agent that says, well, I'm gonna go against this and make sure it's fair. Yeah. So, and in the end, that's the magic, I guess, of AI. It's not one thing. It's a lot of different components.
It's also I understand the scenario, but it's also sometimes difficult to explain. So you have a lot of people in the SAP world are used to go to VA01 to create a sales order for the old people with gray hair, and now you have an agent that this is the information, make me a sales order. And then it starts working. Maybe it has only one agent, but maybe it needs multiple agents to also check what's happening. But it's something that it's not in your hands. So what's your take on AI agents? How does this work with our customers? How do they see that?
Yeah, I think the main key there is that it's become somewhat clear what happened. So not like, hey, AI, make me a sales order, and that it's, before you know it, it's things are already sold or things are already purchased that you don't know. Yeah. Like it's just a number in the system, how much it costs. So now, but you want to kind of see like, hey, what is the what are the steps behind it? What is the reasoning? What is now here? And then maybe even take it in smaller steps. Like, hey, that the AI says, okay, you said you wanted a sales order. Based on your input and the data earlier, I think you mean this. Is that okay? Yeah. Is that all right? Should I continue?
So it's an interaction.
Interaction, yeah. Not just say, hey, I click the button and that's it, and then it just happens automatically. So you see what happens, and yeah, you want the AI to kind of take you along the journey. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, take you by the hand and follow me through. Yeah. So but then. Maybe Max, what's then the difference with the bots that we already have, with robotic process automation and within a workflow, but then you automate it and let the bot handle incoming mails, create an invoice out of that. What's then the difference between bots and agents?
That you can have real interaction with the agents. So it's not only specifically what you told the bot to do, but you can have a small interaction with it. So for me, bots is still you have to put the dots and the commas on exactly the right place. While with an agent, you can get there together, basically. So I think in that sense, it's like you had the chatbots on the web shops earlier. In the early days, it was basically a knowledge base. You would say, my product is broken, and then it would ask what part of your product is broken, and then you would click something, and then you would get an explanation. And now you can say it's not working anymore, and it gets you through the troubleshooting, basically, to see. Yeah,
it's question and answer. And so in the old days, it was a decision tree, and now and bots are more like programmed to do specific steps, and with agents, it can be ad hoc. It can be a different case every day.
Yeah,
that's also interesting possibilities that's coming to the world, to the SAP world as well. Yeah. And so, how do you take your customers by the hand? Not the agent, but the customer. How do you bring them along into the future?
Yeah, I think it comes from two sides. Like, one part is seeing where their interests lie as well, like within AI. Like, are you thinking about using SAP AI? Are you having a different solution already that you're looking at? How do you want to use your SAP data for that? And then from another point of view, like really say, okay, let's go crazy. What is the best thing that could happen using AI? What is really that you want to get out of it? And then sometimes you start very big. It becomes like a huge thing. Like, I want it to be almost magical what it can do. And then slowly you come towards like a solution. You think, well, if I speak to our own kind of AI experts here, I think we could run a proof of concept to make something like this working, and maybe start smaller, but it could work. Let's get going, and then from there, you start very high, like, wow, this can do everything, and slowly you get down to a bit more realistic, more manageable within a short time frame, and then from then on you can let it grow again. But the thing is, you have to think both from like a product perspective, like, okay, what is the tools we have, what might they cost, and on the other hand, let's go of that and just thinking what could be possible. Yeah. And that's so, because a lot of people need to be trained in that as well, because you're just used to what your system can do and what it always done. You need to be shown how much AI can do, and that's very enlightening for people often.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
So you do take your customers by the hand and have some sort of AI workshops or something, in which you are just going to brainstorm with your customers to see if you can get to real use cases, AI use cases.
Yeah. I'm not so much doing that myself yet, but we have like real AI people, and sometimes their bonuses, they don't know much about SAP.
It sounds funny, by the way, a real AI person.
A real AI person, yeah.
And the other funny thing is the real bonuses, they do not know anything about SAP. So
I'll be exported from the security will come find me. Yeah. No, but what you want, at least in the beginning, is like, yes, you want to look for the product, and that's people like Max and myself are very good at that. These are the products, and this is what you can do with it. But we have the people that they think only in AI terms. They don't think only in AI and what is possible. And often, if you talk to people like myself, I think, okay, what is possible with AI and SAP? Because I've been working at SAP already 10 years, I think. So that's my frame of reference. But often they help. It's like, okay, well, what if we look a bit further, client? If you looked at this possibility, and you looked at that, and then often you do come to an SAP solution, but it starts so much bigger usually. Yeah, really, just brainstorm without limits.
Yeah. So, and I think interesting question also for the table is then how is AI going to, for us, how is AI going to change the ERP world? That we are coming a little with different solutions every month, but how is AI going to change consultancy? If we have agents to ask questions to, maybe we don't, black and white, we don't need consultants we can ask a question to an agent.
Are you secretly referencing to Joule for consultants?
No, but we can.
Okay.
So what is Joule for consultants?
Maybe you should ask consultants.
Do you know Joule for consultants?
I don't know.
Yeah. Nou Jan, help.sp.com.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that you don't have to search all the time anymore in a Google-esque type of way, but that you can basically ask Joule for SAP-related consulting questions. So, what about job security then?
But can you then ask Joule for consultants, say, can you please customize the logistics system? These are the sales organizations, and so on and so on.
Yeah, you can, and then Joule will come up with like, then you have to do this and that and this step.
It will not do it for you.
It won't do it for you.
Then we need an agent.
Not yet.
Because otherwise it wouldn't be responsible, right? So we have those 3 R's. Yeah. And one of them is responsible, and we always believe there should be a human in the loop. And good. So that's basically also the answer to job security.
We have to have a human in the loop.
Thank you, SAP.
Yeah, but I still remember last year, Jan and we sat together and about ChatGPT, and then you come up with the prompt, can you please make me an ERP system like as for HANA? What would it come up with? And okay, that will be interesting.
How many tokens would that cost?
Yeah. Okay, but then things are changing. They are changing really fast. But is that also not then? Is it not going too fast? It's difficult to get customers on a specific platform. That's a challenge that we have as SAP to give everything the rise to SAP, to bring everything everyone to the cloud. And now this AI thing is really disrupting everything again. But customers are still on ECC. So how is it then? Is it then the example that you just gave with this algorithm? Is that the solution for customers to? Okay, you can of course migrate your ERP landscape in your own pace, but don't stop thinking about out of the box. Don't stop thinking of what is possible using AI, but then connecting it with BTP. So how do we take our customers together? That's really a question that I have still.
How do you bring them forward?
Yeah.
And I think the challenge is quite there, because we still talking about to customers that are in the ECC era, right?
Yes.
And if you look at how long S4HANA now exists, it's about 10 years. So these customers are at least 10 years behind.
Yeah.
So we have, and this is, I think, one of the statements that was earlier when Christian Klein was talking about RISE. He also mentioned, right? He was saying, let's not leave our customers behind. And this is why we should, jump on this RISE train and get these customers to be more on the edge of innovation rather than laggards that are 10 years behind. Right? And once
my fear is really that, of course, we do not want to leave any customer behind. Very important. And if you're not really ready for the cloud, then we have some in-between solutions as well. But if you talk about this North Star and going sky high, and do we not then leave our customer behind, very scared of what's coming to the future?
I think not. I think it will be easier for customers. And the whole idea about RISE is that you are working with a cloud solution, right, in which you don't have to do a lot of things yourself anymore. And then you see the iterations coming now with, for instance, the Business Data Cloud. Like basically, if you use a cloud solution, the RISE solution by SAP, you'll be able to put very easily the BDC on top of it. Right? And then once you have the BDC on top of it, you'll have all those standardized data formats and everything that the BDC is praised about at the moment with Databricks and everything. And then once you have that, it will be very easy to put standardized, knowledge type of AI type of scenarios on top of that. Because you need to standardize and your data and have a certain data quality first before you can start with your AI.
And a data model that is also not fighting each other but working together.
Exactly. And this is I think another iteration, starting off with leave no customers behind and RISE, and then you have Business Data Cloud on top of it, and now you have AI on top of that. So I believe there's an iteration going, and not sure where it ends, but I think with everything that's happening now, it's getting rather easier for customers than more difficult.
Yeah, that should also be the way. It should be getting more easy than instead of making it more complex. I have a customer that was really happy with the announcement of last week with BDC, because they have S4HANA on-premise. They are implementing Sales and Service Cloud. They are going for the customer identity management, all kind of cloud solutions. They already have SuccessFactors, but then the people that are working in the back office, they need to connect everything together using integration suite. And what's wrong with why is the one domain model not working? And then now Graph is also going into BDC. They are really happy that we as SAP are doing something with this, all those solutions, but then having this one domain model needed to make sure that the integration between all those applications is working more smoothly. And then of course, if you have that, then you can have agents that work on specific tasks in any kind of system, in any kind of solution.
Exactly, and not only that, I think I've spoken to customers already that really liked the demos of the Insight apps that were built on top of that standardized data fabric, if you like. And then they were looking at those dashboards that were coming from those Insight apps and really, really liked them. And that all wouldn't be possible if you wouldn't have the earlier iterations, the whole RISE and the whole cloud concept and the whole BDC before it. So it's agents, it's AI, it's the standardized Insight apps that you can customize, by the way. So it's everything together that turns into almost turnkey type of components that you hardly have any work on to manage anymore. And if I compare that to hosting your own ECC or hosting your own S4 and putting a data warehouse on top of it and standardizing the data that's coming out of there and making sense of the data that You mentioned like earlier, give me access to tables.
Yeah.
Well, I dare you. You know about the table structure behind pricing conditions, right?
Oh yeah.
You dumped it in a data warehouse, and no one can make sense out of it anymore, right?
Mhm.
So this is what exactly what's been done, making sure that the semantics, the business semantics of that data still exists somewhere in the data warehouse, so that you can put the next iteration on top of it. And this you don't have to define it yourself. SAP did, and this is, I think, the power of all these iterations that you saw going.
Alright.
I'm seeing it as customers as well. I have a customer and they are working with a non-SAP process mining tool, and basically I was triggered because they exported almost the whole database within a week time every week, and then the data guys had to be on top of it, so they had to make adjustments and flows and those kinds of things, and then the analysis would be done. Well, if you going for SAP standard tooling, in that sense, the context is already there, and in this sense, if you would go for Signavio, then it's already there. A few clicks and you have the information.
Yeah, so the goal for a few years ago was to bring all the data that you have into one kind of big data lake, but then you lose all the context. And I think we're getting back on that to make sure that you have data in the right context, because then you can have really easier way to make sense out of your data.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
So-
like maybe what I think is things are getting easier, but before they get easy, they become more difficult.
Yeah.
That's
But that, you have to
that's
think
often-
really out of the box.
You have to understand them first.
Yeah.
So I think this is not how do you say? This is not an evolution, but it's a revolution with AI.
Yeah, and maybe it's a good time for
Is it?
yeah,
Right?
bring it on.
Yeah.
That's a difficult question.
This is Young Stuff Question.
Oh yeah. Now the question, of course, remains: why is this a revolution rather than an evolution? What makes AI such a disruptor as compared to event-driven architectures and the API economy and everything that we had before?
Let's ask an agent.
Yeah. Let's ask AI. If I may have a first shot at this question, I think Max, you also touched upon it, explaining the difference between bots and AI, which in the end is kind of what it comes towards. The basis of why AI is revolutionary is that you don't need to tell it exactly what to do, and that sounds like that's very trivial, but that's pretty huge, because always when you have the event-driven architecture, it does things in a better way, but you need to program it. Bots, you need to program it. Everything that went before, you need to program it. But AI comes up with its own solutions. The more data you use it, the more you combine it with other agents. And it's like if a kind of classical program or something would kind of linearly take work out of your hands because it takes up things you don't need to do manually, with AI it's exponential, because it can do, the more and more you use it, the more different kinds of AI you use, it starts learning. It starts taking very difficult tasks out of your hands and learning from it. And that's why it's revolutionary. It starts small, but it really gets exponentially big. And that's why, it's huge, because you don't need to tell it what to do exactly all the time.
It's easier to use.
Yeah, as well.
Yeah. And Max, you mentioned in the prep that it is actually on the agenda of the C-level folks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As compared to, previous technological innovations that we saw.
Yeah.
What do you think is the reason for that?
Because AI is way closer to the business than all the innovations so far were, I think. If you're talking of bots is really technical still. It's a process improvement. A lot of the innovations were in the IT domain, while you're now in the business innovation domain. So it speaks a lot more to C-level than before. It can help your people instead of I have a process improvement in my way. So in that sense, I think it's far more tangible for higher level management than it was before. Because if we are talking about bots, process improvement, then you would need a programmer, and then it would take some time, and you had to go through all the stages. And with AI, if you start using the standard AI of SAP, you just have to connect it basically, and it's available. And especially ChatGPT, it was so easy. People could all of a sudden ask everything, and they would get an okay answer at least. And while the feeling about bots and those kinds of things, I don't like working with a bot. If I need to call the government, and I hear a bot, most of the times I just hang up because the process is too long. While if you have a real connection, then it's easier to go through. So it's far more tangible for those people.
Yeah, I think the tangibility, that's definitely a thing as well. I think if you talk about it, thinking about it, most of the times when you talk about what we spoke about, right, the bots and the APIs and the event-driven architectures, it's the C-level that eventually gets the push from those product guys, right, the IT vendors. While for AI, and speaking about the tangibility, the first time the folks in the boardroom heard about AI is probably because they heard it from their kids. And that's a completely different approach.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
HANA Café Nederland.
Closing up, wrapping up. Max, what is your top tip for consultants working in the SAP world to prepare on AI?
Use it yourself, at least. Make sure that every day you use AI yourself for productivity, and talk to your customer. Feel where the pain is, and listen to the dreams.
Dreams, nice one. Yeah. Okay. And for you, Maarten, what is your top tip for customers?
For customers,
yeah.
Dream big, indeed. I would also say become your own customer. Like if you're a retail store, that was easy. You go to your own customer and say, well, what would be so handy? I would keep coming back to this place. And every client can then think of something probably. And from there on, you can make an AI use case.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Nice trigger. Yeah.
I like what you said as well. Like use it yourself as well.
Do you have a tip?
Use it yourself as well. But just out of curiosity, are you using it yourself?
Yeah.
Who has been secretly had an email written by ChatGPT and copied and pasted it into Outlook? No, don't point at me.
Was it so obvious? No.
Yeah, but that's how you get the experience. That's how you get really to understand what these things, these bots or not bots, agents can do for you, what those models can do for you.
Yeah, I definitely use it myself in my my private life. My big hobby is learning foreign languages, and I realized AI is so much better at translating things than, for example, like older things like Google Translate and these things. And it even say, hey, I want to learn certain things, certain vocabulary. You can just ask, hey, write me a text containing this about this topic, and then you have something to use.
In your personal life, like write me a love letter.
I'm already married, but we can still use it. Yeah,
it's not Valentine's Day anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
We missed that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us in the cafe. Max, thank you very much. Maarten, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Jan, thanks for showing up again.
Thanks, Twan.
Yeah. And thank you, of course, dear listener, to our HANA Café Netherlands. And also thank you for watching this episode of HANA Café Netherlands. Thank you also for the production team behind. And see you next time.
Dankjewel voor het luisteren naar deze aflevering van HANA Café Nederland. Heb je feedback voor ons? Laat het dan zeker weten. Wil je ook een keer aanschuiven in het café? Stuur ons een bericht.